There is a passage in Genesis so brief and strange that theologians have argued over its meaning for centuries. It mentions beings called Nephilim, born from a union the Bible barely explains. Were they giants, fallen angels, or something Scripture left unexplained? Tonight, we examine every clue left behind and the three theories that divide serious readers of the Bible. Genesis 6 begins simply enough, describing an ordinary world filling with people. Humanity was multiplying across the earth, as God had commanded generations earlier. Ordinary men worked the land each day. Ordinary women raised children beneath open skies. But the text shifts tone, introducing a group it calls the sons of God, watching the daughters of men with dangerous interest. Scripture says the sons of God saw that human women were beautiful and took any wife they chose. Ancient Jewish tradition identifies these sons of God as angelic beings called watchers, descending from heaven to earth. Whatever they were, their arrival broke a boundary the world had never crossed, between the heavenly realm and the fragile human world beneath it. The unions produced offspring unlike anything humanity had witnessed before that moment. Genesis names them Nephilim, a Hebrew word often translated giants, or literally, the fallen ones. They grew taller, stronger, and far more violent than the ordinary men around them. The text calls them mighty men, men of renown, legends whispered about long after their generation had passed away. As the Nephilim grew in number, violence spread steadily across the entire earth alongside them. Genesis says humanity's wickedness became great, every inclination of the human heart turning toward corruption and ruin. Scholars debate whether the Nephilim caused this moral corruption or symbolized how far creation itself had truly fallen. Either way, something on earth had gone wrong beyond repair. God looked upon the earth and was deeply grieved that he had made humanity at all. Every living creature had been swept into humanity's corruption alongside them, drowning in that same ruin. Only one man, Noah, walked in righteousness before God. High above the failing world, a wooden ark began taking shape, plank by plank, against warnings no one believed. The flood came exactly as God had promised Noah, waters rising steadily over every mountain, swallowing every living thing outside his wooden ark. If the Nephilim were truly giants roaming the earth, the flood should have ended their existence for good indeed. Yet one strange, overlooked verse suggests otherwise, saying the Nephilim were on the earth both then and afterward. That single phrase, "and afterward," has fueled centuries of intense theological debate among careful readers of Scripture. Some scholars argue a second incursion happened after the flood, mirroring the first. Others even insist the phrase simply refers to lingering legends, not literal survivors. The Bible offers no clear resolution, only the unsettling suggestion that this story was not entirely finished. Centuries after the flood had receded, 12 Israelite spies entered Canaan to scout the promised land for Moses. Most of them returned home utterly terrified, describing enormous inhabitants called Anakim, said to descend from the Nephilim themselves. "We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes standing before them," the spies reported, "and we looked the very same way to them." The Anakim account raises an obvious question. How could Nephilim bloodlines possibly survive a flood meant to erase them entirely from the earth? Some scholars propose that Noah's family unknowingly carried hidden genetic remnants forward through later generations. Others insist the Anakim were quite exceptionally tall humans, later mythologized by frightened storytellers into something far more monstrous than they were. Outside the Bible, an ancient book called Enoch expands the entire Nephilim story quite dramatically. 200 watchers, it claims, descended together upon a mountain, swearing a binding oath before taking human wives for themselves. Their monstrous offspring devoured everything humanity had produced through years of labor, and eventually turned on humanity itself once there was nothing left to consume. Enoch describes the Watchers teaching forbidden knowledge to early humanity, weapon-making, dark sorcery, and astrology among their many gifts. For this open rebellion, the ancient book claims God bound the Watchers deep in darkness until a final judgment finally arrives. Meanwhile, their monstrous children were gradually destroyed by relentless flood, endless war, and each other's escalating violence toward one another. The Book of Enoch was never accepted into either the Hebrew or later Christian biblical canon by religious authorities. Yet its influence persisted for centuries despite that official rejection. Jewish and early Christian writers referenced it for generations without much hesitation. Even the New Testament book of Jude appears to quote Enoch directly, discussing angels who abandoned their proper dwelling. Not every serious scholar accepts the angelic explanation offered by ancient Jewish and early Christian tradition. A second major theory argues the sons of God were simply powerful human rulers, or descendants of Seth marrying into Cain's ancient corrupted bloodline. Under this competing view, the Nephilim were powerful tyrants and warlords, not literal supernatural hybrids between angels and ordinary humanity. A third theory takes the most cautious, humble position of the three available options. Perhaps the text simply describes something ancient readers understood clearly, but modern readers simply cannot reconstruct after so much time. The Nephilim may represent an idea entirely lost to us across the centuries, preserved only within 4 brief, mysterious, compressed verses of ancient Hebrew sacred scripture. Modern archaeology has uncovered no confirmed giant skeletons anywhere truly matching detailed Nephilim descriptions, despite countless viral claims circulating online. Most alleged discoveries trace to several hoaxes, misidentified fossils, or outright fabricated photographs shared for attention. Whatever the Nephilim actually were historically, physical evidence has not settled this particular debate the way so many hopeful researchers eventually expected it would. Later biblical giants, like the famous Goliath of Gath, are sometimes loosely connected to this same ancient bloodline by later readers. Whether literal descendants or lingering legendary echoes passed down orally, these towering warriors kept the memory of something truly enormous and dangerous alive, still throughout Israel's entire recorded history, long after the flood had supposedly ended the ancient threat. What unites all three competing theories is exactly what the passage stubbornly refuses to give us: certainty. Genesis 6 offers only 4 short verses, deliberately compressed, deliberately quite incomplete, almost as though the original audience already understood something we no longer fully do. The mystery here was not totally created by simple silence. It was created instead by deliberate omission. Perhaps that deliberate omission is itself the entire point of the passage's construction. Genesis 6 sits between Paradise Lost and the flood's coming judgment, marking the exact moment corruption became truly total across creation. Whether angels, human tyrants, or something else, the Nephilim represent a boundary being crossed, and a world so broken that only devastating water could cleanse it. 3 competing theories, 4 brief verses, thousands of years of unresolved theological debate among serious readers. The Nephilim remain exactly what Genesis made them out to be: fallen, mysterious, and just beyond our full understanding. Which theory do you believe? Tell us below in the comments, and subscribe for more biblical mysteries most people never take much time to examine.